folks. Geez, it was an interesting night. We weren't sure we were going to get burnt out. As you can see, that's not fog in the air, that is smoke. Just before sunset, the fire brigade were heading out. There was a spotter plane flying around over the back there, maybe only about 3 or 4 kilometres from us, but all night it's been very thick smoke, ash falling down on us. We weren't sure if we were going to get told to move on, but morning's come and it's all been good. We're still here, and it was a great night. It wasn't overly cold, particularly for a rooftop tent, and no wind, so the tent wasn't flapping. So overall it was a brilliant night. So we're going to have some breakfast, pack up, and then we'll start the day's driving, where we'll be doing more dirt roads. So let's get some breakfast and see where we end up.
Time to chase new things, dust on the wind and stories to share.
In our last episode, we kicked off part 2 of the MundAl Track, travelling from Perth to Albany, and spent the night camping at the old Nanga townsite. This time, we're continuing south, mostly along gravel roads, passing through Collie and then on to Boyot Brook, before setting up camp for the night besides the river at Tonebridge. On day 3, we're heading deeper into the southern forest, winding our way down towards Walpole, zigzagging through the forest tracks and creeks, and making our way towards Denmark. There will be a few water crossings along the way, just to keep things interesting, before we wrap up our weekend's adventures in Albany at the historic Brig Amity. So that's our plan for the weekend. Let's get rolling. As we head out just a few kilometres down the road, we pass through the area of last night's bushfire. I don't remember exactly how I found out, but apparently it was another controlled burn. One of many they do out here to keep the forest safe. It's not long before we roll off the bitumen and onto the gravel roads. That's when the trip really starts to feel like an adventure. The tyres bite in, the dust kicks up, and you know you're really heading somewhere a bit more remote. Just a quick reminder, this trip isn't about rock climbing and tough four-wheel drive challenges. It's all about easy four-wheel drive camping, simple tracks, great scenery, and plenty of spots to stop and relax. Perfect if you're new to four-wheel driving or just want to see if the family is going to enjoy the camping lifestyle. As you can see, the roads are in pretty good shape. Smooth driving with only a few light corrugations here and there. Just to keep in mind, conditions can change depending on the weather and how recently the road has been graded. When you're driving out here in the bush, whether it's on bitumen or gravel, you've always got to be ready for anything. It could be animals on the road, the occasional drop-kick driver, or like in this case, a narrow one-way bridge waiting just around the bend. This is a bridge that was put in by a mining company. On top is either a mining access road or where the conveyor belt runs. And don't forget also, if you're following behind another vehicle on dirt roads, don't drive in their dust. Hang back a bit so that your car can breathe clean air. If you don't, your car's air filter will clog up quicker than a crowd in a Boxing Day sale. For a number of reasons, this isn't good for your car. You can see here that Jessica's doing a good job at staying back out of my dust. This weekend I've handed over the driving so I can focus more on filming. And I'm also the chief navigator for this trip. Even though we've got multiple devices running with our plan, I'm still tracking everything the old-fashioned way, with written notes and maps. Just like we used to when I was a lad. It's been a while, but my map reading and navigation skills are coming back. There's something satisfying about working it out for yourself, and it definitely keeps you connected to the journey.
Well, that was handy. We just pulled over here to have a bit of a stop. Got a child in the car, needed to go out and use the public conveniences. You know what they say, every tree's a lavatory. And a fella from the water board who was driving up the powerline track here saw us, came over to check to make sure that we were okay and no problems. And I was just chatting to him about the track. What's the powerline track like? Is it a hard track or pretty easy? And he said it was all right. And he told me this: if I follow the power line back that direction, then it'll come down to Harvey Dam, which is where I was going, or Harris Dam I think it was, which is where I was going, because we were driving along this road here. No, not yet. And we were heading that direction. Now this road goes in a big circle all the way around. If you follow the instructions that are in the plan from the Forward Drive Association for this MundAl Track, it'll tell you to keep going down and around and get you back to Harris Dam. But after talking with the fellow from the water board, he says we can take this track along the power line and follow that down. It's a relatively easy track. It's not a hard thing to do, and except for when you get down towards the end, last part of it, there's a couple of little dodgy parts, but not difficult. That's the main thing. It's a relatively easy one to do. So we're going to give that a go, and then when we get down to Harris Dam, they've got some picnic areas there, and more importantly some toilets, and so we'll stop there and we'll probably have our lunch there. So we're going to head down that way.
So the original plan was to follow the green line, sticking to the graded roads, much like the ones that we've been driving on so far. But now we will take the red line of the power line track that runs right through the middle. Then, once we get to the bottom, we'll swing by Harris Dam and stop here for lunch. Right from the start, the track's in great condition. Nice and easy driving. Every now and then, you'll come across these crossings that cut across the track. They're all part of the mining operations in the area. Usually where a conveyor belt runs, carrying material from where it was dug up to the processing plant. Not long after that crossing, the track starts to narrow in a bit, with the bushes getting close to both sides. But it's only for a short stretch. Before long, it opens up again and you're back in the easy, relaxed driving. Coming down this hill, you can see that the greenery has really started to close over the track. There's a small rut running right where the wheels have to go, and ideally it would have been nice to be able to drive on top of the ridges either side. That would have given us a bit more ground clearance, but with the trees sitting so close in, that wasn't really an option. Luckily, the ground here is soft and muddy, so it's not a problem. We're just scraping the bash plates underneath the vehicle as we roll through. Out here, there's plenty of parrot bush, and that stuff is an absolute nightmare. Back in my SCS days, I remember doing searches through this sort of country. We always seemed to get the sectors full of parrot bush, scrambling our way through, scratched up from head to toe. Thankfully, this isn't quite as bad as that was. From here, the track winds its way deeper into the bush, twisting between the trees as we make our steady progress towards Harris Dam. It's a beautiful part of the drive, a mix of forest shade and open patches where the sunlight filters through, reminding you just how special these back roads really are. About halfway down, the track really starts to close in, with the bush right up against both sides. There are a few side tracks off to the left that link up with the left-hand line, which is a much more open and easier going if you'd rather avoid the tighter sections. And if you want to know what it's like on the other side at the end, this is part of it. Ooh, things are starting to get exciting now. We have our first water crossing. Well, you have to work up to these things. You can see here, by going a bit slower and putting one wheel a bit higher here, we didn't scrape the bottom like the second car did. Now we did have our vehicles in high 4, not because it was needed anywhere, but more for the opportunity to circulate oils in parts of the drive that normally don't do anything when in 2-wheel drive. Speaking of that, don't forget to put your vehicle back into 2-wheel drive before going onto any blacktop. Well, that was a nice little alternative way to get around. At the end of the track, it's a short drive on the gravel road before you arrive at Harris Dam. And the toilets. And it's lunchtime. Found my hat. It's getting a bit warm out here. Now that track, it's a 4-wheel drive track goes. If you're into the heavy stuff, it's a little bit tame for you. But for the beginner, then that's not a bad little track. I would suggest though, when you get about halfway down it, switch over to the left-hand track, not the right-hand track, because the right-hand one is a bit overgrown. And the left-hand track is not as overgrown and is relatively easy to get along. So we've arrived here at Harris Dam. Now I've never actually been to this dam. I'd heard of it, but I'd never seen it before. But it's probably only a little one, and I'd say it probably hasn't got a hell of a lot of water in, considering how much rain we've had this year. But I'll get some shots for you and we'll have a look. And we're going to have our lunch here too. So this is our lunch stop. Makes a nice little spot. It does have toilets, but these ones over here don't work. They tell us to go down to the ones down there. We just got to try and work out how to get down there. But anyway, we'll get some shots of the dam and we'll tell you a little bit more about it, I guess. Harris Dam sits just north of Collie and is one of the main water supply dams for the region. It was completed in the early 1990s to replace the old Wellington Dam as Collie's main source of drinking water. The dam's surrounded by beautiful jarrah forest, and there's a nice picnic area and walking trails that make it a great place to stop for a break. It's also one of those quiet spots where you can just sit back, enjoy the view and take in how peaceful it is out here. Tell you what, they've closed the toilets out there and told you to use the toilets down here, but it's a cut lunch and water bag to get to them. If you were busting for the loo, I don't know that you would make it. Let's have a look what they've got over the edge here. The spillway is built as a concrete lined chute founded on solid rock on the abutment side. It's engineered to cope with very large flood levels. This means that when the waters get too high, the spillway ensures the excess can flow out without damaging the dam structure itself or causing uncontrolled flooding downstream. After an epic journey trying to find the loos, we finally made it back to the car, where Deb had lunch ready and waiting, almost for an hour. And after all that walking, we'd definitely worked up an appetite. Oh, and just for reference, there is a lower car park right next to the loos. We know that now. We passed through Collie where we topped up our fuel tanks before we arrived at our revised camp spot for the night, about 23 kilometres south of Collie. Well, we have arrived at our next campsite. Wasn't quite where I was expecting of going. I was probably going to be about another 100 kilometres further down. But we had a bit of a late start this morning, and then we did that little bit of a detour which ended up taking us longer than the actual road was supposed to go. And then we did the 2 kilometre walk to try and find a toilet at Harris Dam. So that all took up time. So we've come down about half an hour south of Collie. Don't know the name of this place. I'll put it down the bottom down here because I can't remember it. It's Lake something or other. But it's a pretty neat looking spot. Have a look at this out here. It's a nice big lake. There's not as many mosquitoes around here as where we were last night. Although family have seen a couple, so there's a few around, but at least it's not as bad. But relatively quiet, although I mean, over there is where I wanted to go because I thought that looked a bit flatter. Where we are here, it's a little bit uneven. But there's a gate across the road down here, so you can't get in there, which is a damn shame because I reckon that would have been a really nice spot. But there's somebody over there's got a generator running, so somehow they're getting in there. And then down here, I don't know whether you can see, but there's a few caravans and things down there. This is a free campsite. Bit of a bush job getting in. Over the back there you might be able to see the metal from the side of the bridge that goes across the river over there, or the creek over there, and then that side there, because that's the road we actually drove down from, and you can see some people look like they're camped over there. That's actually just a day use area. It's not for camping, but you know, it is what it is. But it's apart from the generator, very quiet in here, and I'll show you our little campsite and setup that we've got here now. There's not much in the way of flat ground around here, but we found a nice spot in between the trees.
I have no idea.
I forgot to bring my levelling ramps, so I had to use a couple of rocks to get the rooftop tent sort of level. But the view from our camp, I think, is pretty good.
Oh, and the green guy was missing. Oh, yeah, I think he dropped him in the car yesterday. No, it was today. Oh.
And that brings us to the end of another day and video. Join us next time when we continue south through some farming and bushlands as we head towards the southern forests and we get yet another change to our plans. If you like this video, then hit the thumbs up and consider subscribing if you haven't already, as it helps to get YouTube to show my videos to other viewers, and that helps to make the channel grow. And a new feature on mobile devices is a hype button down the bottom. Give that a click and that will also help the channel out. So till next time, happy travels.